Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if I had to sum it up one thing, I would say you aren't doing marketing wrong. You're doing the wrong marketing, which is the
Come on.
marketing you don't like. The only good marketing is the marketing you actually do and enjoy.
Welcome to Storycomic Presents, where we interview amazing storytellers and artists. This is episode 454. I'm your host, Barney Smith of Storycomic.com, and we're excited to have back with us the highly acclaimed and celebrated author, Russell Nohelty. Russell,
Yay, I'm here.
welcome back.
Thanks so much for having me. It's great. We were just talking about I came on 3 years ago, roughly like at around this time. So it's wild to think that I'm back again, but I'm really happy to be back.
One, as I was mentioning too before the show, that you basically have the same background for the past 3 years. You basically have the same pictures and stuff. I remember that.
Yeah, I got some more books in my bookshelf back here, but otherwise, when I see a thing I likes, I just stick with it.
Yeah. and and I know that one of the aspects too is that we were mentioning before we went on the air is that so you're episode 197, and so one thing too, Russell, is that when anybody's on my show 3 times, they get the moniker friend of the show. So you got one more show to be back on, then you get to be labeled friend of the show. So
Oh, I do love a good moniker, so I look forward to coming back, hopefully before 3 more years pass.
exactly, because you're out of control, Russell. You've been writing so many darn books. I got, and so for our listeners' sake, I'm pulling up his website, and he has on here on his bookshelves all of his books. Uh, I know you did come on and talk about Ichabod Jones about 3 years ago, but you also have the Godverse Chronicles that you came out with. You also have the Obsidian Spindle Saga, which you came out with, which is huge. I believe that you said you had like 12 or 13 books for that as
Yeah,
well.
there's 12 books in that one. There's 12 books in the Godsverse Chronicles. There's 5 books in this Dragon Strife book. There's 4 anthologies now. I have like
Wow.
soon by the end of this year, I should have like 10 books in my nonfiction series, which I didn't even plan to write 3 books. And now
Wow.
there's 10 books there. So it's been a lot. I've been on pace since 2020. I've put out about 10 books a year, which is yeah, like this book sale supercharge is not even we've taken most of those books down. So but there they
Wow.
are. I did those books too.
Wow. Yeah, look at that. Yeah, I mean, and so I know you one of your most recent books that you're coming out with, or it's already out now, right? Is How to Thrive as a Writer in a Capitalist Dystopia.
It is officially coming out on all retailers on August 4th, but you can
Okay.
get it on our website. And then this next August 4th, the How to Thrive as a Writer in a Capitalist Dystopia comes out. The following week, How to Write Irresistible Books That Readers Devour comes out. The following book, that cultivate a How to Cultivate a Thriving Author Ecosystem book, comes out. Then the direct sales for authors book comes out, and then I have a Kickstarter book coming out on the 25th, and all of that's going to happen this month. And then retailer, I'm going to put 11 books in my Obsidian Spindle Saga series that's been exclusive to my website on in September. So by the middle
Okay.
of September, I'm basically launching like 15 new books on retailers.
Wow. So when do you sleep then, Russell?
So a lot of these books were exclusive to my web store or exclusive to Kickstarter or exclusive for a long time. So it's a lot of like I finished writing the Godsverse Chronicles, I think, in 22. So they've just been coming out since then. And the Obsidian Spindle Saga, I think I finished in 23. So I've been mainly putting out I've mainly been just putting them out, but they've been there. They just haven't been available to the public. So it's been really interesting to watch people be like, wait, how do you have so many books? I just looked you up and you had none. And I was like, yeah, I kind of got sick of people wondering what books I made. So I decided to just like put them out. So about a year ago, I started a podcast called The Six Figure Author Experiment with my friend Lee Savino.
Mm.
And from that, I was like, fine, I'm going to put all the books on retailers finally after like, I don't know why it took, like, I mean, I know what I told myself as the reason why, but like, it actually doesn't make a whole lot of sense in retrospect. So yeah, and most of the nonfiction books come from, I have a blog called the Author Stack, which is quite popular. And they're mainly posts that I did on the Author Stack or like a course that I had done it for. So
Right.
I don't plan on putting any more books, that many more nonfiction books out, because the way that I pace my Author Stack, I should not put out more than a book a year after next year of nonfiction. And so I feel like most prolific writers go through like a 10-year stretch where they just write a ton of books
Mm.
and like they build their canon, and then they kind of like slow down, unless you're Stephen King, like you slow down a little bit like as you get into your mid 40s and you start being like, well, I want to be really judicious in what I add, because I've said it. Like I've said so many things in my career that like I don't want to say it again. And so I'm conscious of how can I not say the same, or how can I say something different, or how can I say something additive to the conversation now?
And so, we could go down the path of, I really want to learn more about the worlds that you've created, because I love the world building aspect of things. But I also, but we might have to have you come back, Russell, to talk about that stuff, because I
Sure.
want to really chat about how you've been successful in providing tips and tricks and some lessons and workbooks for other authors. Uh,
Amazing.
what would
Um,
what would you say is like, what is like one myth that you see writers that you wish that would say like writers would just like forget about, like this isn't true, don't do this?
um, ooh, there's just so many. I think the one that is the most prevalent in the work that I do is that you need to have a book before you build an audience, or you need to know what you want to say before you start putting it out there. And for so many people, like it's actually in putting it out there that they find what they wanted to say in the first place.
Mm.
And I also would say people do not spend enough time in the mess around stage of their career. They want to go straight to the find out stage. Like they'll write one article and they'll be like, great, I'm going to write a book now. And you're like, well, but like, you don't actually know how to write. You don't like this is not on you. You're like 19 years old and you've not been writing for very long. So like maybe you should just write some stuff and understand that it's not going to work out. It's not going to be very good. And like, then you learn. The more of a beginner's mind that you can have, the better I think you are at the beginning of your career. You're not, even though my career is about how to how to make money on your books, largely like how to make a living on your books. Like I think in general, you should spend most of your early career writing books that maybe are not very good, learn in genres you might not even like, just
Mm.
to see if you like them, doing things that you don't necessarily think you will like. I never thought I would like self-publishing. I never thought I would like negotiating contracts. Like I never thought I would like nonfiction, but it's in doing these things that you learn what you actually do like and what your unique skill set is.
Right. Now, would you consider, like, for instance, when you're writing your fiction and compared to your nonfiction, is one of them more of a palate cleanser for you as compared to the other genres?
Oh, I don't want to write nonfiction.
Okay.
What ends up happening is people keep asking me questions, and then I keep. So that was the beginning of my career. Is people kept asking me questions, and I would write a nonfiction book. Then I would do a course when people kept asking me questions. Then I would write another nonfiction book, and I just kept like doing that like for years. And then I started a business called Writer MBA, which we just sunset recently, but it's really find a lot. And so then we had courses, then we had things. And what ended up happening was no one was saying the things that I actually think needed to be said. For instance, it does not matter how good your mindset is, capitalism is out to get you. It just is. Like it is like it does not work as you think it should, but it does work consistently. And the way that you logically think that it should work is not how it works. And you can have the best mindset, the best book, the greatest everything, but like if you if you write a like hamster shifter time travel like literary fiction book, you will sell 100 copies, and it does not matter how many how like what good it is.
Hmm.
Good is not the determining factor in capitalism. It is like what the market wants. And so I'm not saying don't write that book. I want to read that book. But what happens is then someone will say, my book's not selling. I must be doing something wrong. And I'm like, what is your book? And they tell me shifter, time travel, pagoda, literary fiction. And I'm like, and how many copies did you sell? It's like 100. I'm like, that's great. There's probably 100 people in the world that want to read that book. So
Hmm.
like you found them. You actually did a great job. But you think you didn't do a great job because you expect to hit like the New York Times bestseller list with your very weird book. And even the books that win like the Man Booker Prize don't sell 20,000 units. Like these are books that sell very few units, even at the very upper echelon. So how can you, without any of those things, expect to outsell those books?
Right. And so, what are some, just to kind of give people a little bit of a tip on that, like for your newest book coming out, How to Thrive as a Writer in a Capitalist Dystopia. Um, what are some tips that you can share with us from that book?
Um, okay. Well, so that's the big one. Like
Right.
there are a lot of structure things in the book, but I'm really out to dispel this myth that capitalism works logically, and and make people understand that it works consistently, but it does not work logically. You think
Huh.
1 + 1 = 2, but really squirrel plus potato equals 2. It will always equal 2. If you put squirrel and potato, you'll be like, what is this? And it doesn't have make any logical sense. But like, if you can just get out of your head and past this idea that the economy or anything works logically, you can have a more fulfilling existence because you don't have to explain why a thing is that way. Like, I do not know why people do the things that they do. I do know that they do them for a reason. And if you do X, Y, and Z, you will get J result. You will just get it. And it's okay if if like you don't know why that happens. And we are not serviced by our big brains as writers
Mm.
in this manner. Like the reason a lot of the dumbest people that you know are like running the world is because they don't get in their own way. They can just say, oh, well, one of two things. If I write my literary pagoda squirrel shifter time travel book, that's okay. I say this is okay. but you can't then complain when it doesn't sell 2,000 copies. I have a lot of books like that. I have a book called Time is a Flat Circle. That's the main character is an angel who comes down to Earth to help someone who has cancer live their last life in the universe. It has sold 0 copies on Amazon, but it sold like $5,000 worth of material on Kickstarter. So like it's very popular in like it was popular enough to make my money back multiple times over. But not but if I want to sell books on Amazon, I have to give books that Amazon wants. I have to give the books that it wants to like for it to sell. And so often we spend time as writers hate using a platform. What I mean by that is like you'll have Facebook and you'll be like, I know Facebook wants this kind of thing, but I'm going to waste my energy doing this kind of thing. When you can either just like find the place that actually rewards the kind of thing that you want to do, or use Facebook in the way that you want to use it, but don't spend any energy on it because like it's just not going to do the thing you want to do.
Well, hey there. If you're enjoying our podcast, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform. Your support means the world to us and helps us keep this show going. We love hearing from you, so any feedback is welcome. And thank you for being a part of our podcast family and for all your support. It truly means a lot to us. So you mentioned Kickstarter earlier. So how should writers use Kickstarter or other crowdfunding platforms without burning out? Because it takes a lot of energy.
Oh, well, this is a huge myth that I can dispel because I don't believe that at all. Like,
oh, really?
I think that we put a lot of energy into it. I think that, okay, so my ex-business partner and I, Monica, wrote the definitive guide on how to sell books on Kickstarter. And we made a course called, it like literally started the Kickstarter boom, and then Brandon, along with Brandon Sanderson. So like I've been around Kickstarter, but I've been around Kickstarter books since 2015. 2015 or 16 when I released my first novel on Kickstarter. And I don't think you should spend more than 2 hours building your page the first time. I think you should take a book that you are going to release on retailers or already did release it on retailers and do either an anniversary book, which is like, hey, this book's been out a year. Like, I'm going to do a Kickstarter for it because I'm putting out like I'm doing new formatting, or a bunch of you don't have it yet. Or you can do what we call a second chance book, which is a book that was loved, but not much loved by enough people. So you did a book that like just was kind of a bomb, but the people that read it love it. Put that on Kickstarter and be like, hey, I want to give this a second chance. So if you do one of those two things, you already know a couple of things. One, the book works. Like people have read it and they like it. Two, if you're doing the anniversary book, you've made money on it. So you don't need money on Kickstarter. Or two, it hasn't made money on retailers, and any money you make on retail on your Kickstarter will be a bonus. You also already have probably a blurb that works. You already have a bunch of things that like are working in the process of, and so you can, with very little effort, make that a Kickstarter campaign with a new cover or a new whatever, like, because you have to do something new. So a new edition, a new short story in the back, new formatting, like whatever, new chapter headings. I don't care what the new thing is. The thing that's important is you are testing. Kickstarter is best used as a testing ground. Either I am going to test at the beginning, I'm going to test whether I like Kickstarter, whether it likes me, whether this genre works on Kickstarter, whether my audience is into Kickstarter. So like, one, you have a baseline. Like, and scientific method, you need a control. So like you need a control of your control is Amazon or retailers, and then you experiment with like taking something that's already been on retailers and seeing how it works on Kickstarter. And then once you have that, you can say, I'm going to now try my next launch. Before I put it on retailers, 90 days before I put it on retailers, I'm going to run a Kickstarter. And because that is a new project, you now no longer need a new cover. You no longer need new formatting. If you go to any of my books on Kickstarter, you will see it's the same. It's the same as the retail. It's the same. But what I am doing is I am building my marketing assets, because this is the problem. You say that Kickstarter is takes a long time, right? You're like, Kickstarter takes a ton of time, energy, and effort. It's actually building marketing assets that takes a lot of time, energy, and effort. And these are things you will have to do anyway. So like you will need an email sequence. You will need a blurb. You will need like a list of people to put into a custom audience so Facebook can run ads to those people. Like you will need a whole bunch of things, mock-up covers, like all the things that you would use in a Kickstarter campaign. You build them through the Kickstarter, and then like by the time your Kickstarter is over, man, you know what works. You know what emails led to the most conversions, the most which copy of the blurb worked. Like, you know all of the things, and you got paid to do it. So it's like writers love wasting energy. And what I want you to do is think about how you can conserve energy by doing one action and actually doing 8 actions. So the Gods vs. Chronicles landing page that I send people in my welcome email sequence is just my Kickstarter page, slightly rewritten. And the email sequence is the email sequence that is slightly rewritten to fit this. That resulted in the biggest conversions from the Kickstarter campaign. And why do I do that? Well, I know that when I sent this email to this landing page that had similar copy, I made $15,000. So odds are that it's a pretty good baseline to start testing. If I do this, if I create a landing page with my series and then I use the same email sequence. But like what writers do is they will do an entire Kickstarter page and be exhausted, and then they'll just build different assets, and they'll like never use that information again. And it's like so backwards that I wish I could shake every author and say, the thing that you should be doing in your career is building leveraged assets. It is the only thing that matters in this whole game of entrepreneurship. How can you do one action and continually get more and more and more results from it? Ooh, that was a big diatribe, but like that was, you asked one question about how to use Kickstarter, and like it should be the long and the short of it is it should be used as a testing ground and as a place to build marketing assets that you then can deploy other places.
Now, and so that kind of like jumps onto, you kind of talked about it a little bit already, is how what would be I don't know, I wouldn't say the word simple, but I'll say, what's a good straightforward strategy for writers to not get overwhelmed by all the social media?
Don't use it. It doesn't work. Like it's not good. Like, right. I mean, like even people that are going viral aren't getting a ton of results from it. And like, because you are a writer, you probably will not get to a niche that you have. You probably will not expand beyond, I don't know, unless you want to be a book talker or something like that. Like you probably won't get the massive amount of following that you can then sell for sponsored ads. So like you should find the ones that work. So here's what I would say. You've been using social media for some amount of time. There are probably many actions you hate. And there's probably a few actions you like. And the question is, how can you take, is there a platform that you can take the thing that you like that rewards it? So for instance, Substack for me is a social media platform of a type, and they are, and they rewarded when I started, less so now, the things that I liked doing, which was like Facebook hops and collaborations and like guest posting and all of these other things that like made sense to me. Because the big secret about marketing is everyone likes it. The problem is that no one thinks the marketing that they do is marketing. They think everything they don't like is marketing. So if you just called 10 of your listeners, Barney, and you were like, explain marketing, what do you do? They would give you 10 different answers. And then you could say, okay, it's like, so what are the things you like? And they would tell you more marketing actions. They would say like, oh, I really like connecting with readers. I love being on podcasts. I like writing my blog. I like my email list. Like, whatever I like social media. Like a lot of people like CamCut or whatever it's called, and like doing the videos. Or I like doing videos, but I don't want to be on camera. So I like that TikTok, you don't have to be on camera necessarily to make videos go viral. Whatever that thing is, but like, or they might say, I just want to write a bunch of books really fast. And it's like, great, that is also marketing. All of these things are marketing actions. And the problem is that everyone says they hate marketing, but they all hate different parts of marketing. And they think that in order to do marketing, they have to do the parts they don't like. The problem is the parts they don't like are the parts they're not good at. The parts that don't give them results. And the parts that like burn them out. But they think that the only way to do work is to do this stuff they don't like. But if instead they just said, what if I don't do any of that stuff? And I just spent 100% of my time booking do you know how many podcast appearances you can get on if you spent 1 month just getting pod guest or pod pitch or like all of these programs, or hiring an assistant, just like going out? I did it once. It was 100. Gotten 100 shows in that 1 month of doing. I think it was actually like 1 month of booking and then like 2 more months of actually being on the shows. But I ended up with like 100 podcasts. And I didn't do that when I went back, because I've recently gone back to that strategy a little bit because I don't have the energy for 100. But like, man, that's sure a lot of podcasts. And like, if you love podcasts, probably something good is going to come out of the podcast where like you get clients or you get something out of it.
That's a really good point. And so remind people, Russell, what website should they go to learn more about you? Because you got a couple websites. You got a couple.
Okay. If you're a fiction person, then go to russellnohelty.com. That's where all of my books are. If you are an author, then theauthorstack.com is the best one, because that's where all of my writing is. Like all of my nonfiction writing and a lot of my fiction writing is at theauthorstack.com. But like, this is a good one to show you all of my books. And these are all of the nonfiction. I have like 3 more coming out this year, but the nonfiction ones, the fiction ones that are all going to be in this Eternity book that's coming out later this year are the Dragon Strife books, the Obsidian Spindle books, and the Gods vs. Chronicle books. Wow. The Dragon Strife books is dragons. The other 2 are Portal Fantasy books, and the Obsidian Spindle one is fairy tale retellings. So it's a fairy tale combined universe, which I find really fun. It's probably my favorite thing that I've ever written. I mean, as far as books go.
Wow. Excellent. Well, Russell, you're going to have to come back on because there's still more conversations we're going to have later.